Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Hey, today we have Dimario Jackson. He's the head men's basketball coach, LSU Alexandria. They are the Generals. Stay tuned. Cascade Hoops Talk starts right now. Cascade Hoops Talk, produced in the shadow of the beautiful Cascade Mountains and bringing the world NAIA basketball. One podcast at a time. Hey, we have Dimario Jackson today. He's head men's basketball coach, LSU Alexandria, the Generals. One of the most successful basketball coaches over the last couple of years in the NAIA. He brings a lot of energy and discipline to his teams. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little about they had a great run last year. They fell to Oklahoma Wesleyan. That was a really tough game for them. We talk about that. Really a great conversation. And then check this out. This guy is loaded up for this season. He's going to talk about that too. So let's take a listen to Dimario Jackson, head men's basketball coach, LSU Alexandria, the Generals. Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Hey, I got Dimario Jackson on the phone. He's the head men's basketball coach, LSU Alexandria. They are the Generals. Welcome, Coach. Thanks for being on.
Well, thank you for having me, man. It's always a pleasure, for sure.
So, Coach, looking back at your last couple of years, you're 55-7 in 2 years, 2 seasons. Has this seemed almost like a dream come true since you took that job? Why do you think you've been so successful so quick?
First, man, I like to give thanks to God, man. Because without him, none of this would be possible. I gotta give thanks to my wife, who's my biggest support. My staff, who's been with me, Coach Dwayne and Coach Alyssa, and then to all the players, to the players. So that's the true testament to our success, man. God first, my wife and family, Coach Dwayne and Coach Alyssa, the staff, and then our players. It's not, when you take over a program and, you want to do things the way you want to do them, you have to have the right support. You gotta have everybody on one accord with what you're trying to do. And I saw Kevin Easley, who's the head coach at Life.
Yes.
I saw him quote this, and it made so much sense. You got to begin with the end in mind, knowing where you're trying to go and knowing how you're trying to get there. So, and a testament to the work that's been put in, by the players, by the coaching staff, the everyday grind that it takes, to be one of those teams and to be one of those premier programs.
Yep.
So that's how I'll answer that question.
Yeah, Coach, last season, trying to remember, I think you were 31-3. It was just probably, and you beat, 2 NC2A Division I programs. You had Cashinata, who was the best player in the country. He ended up winning Coach of the Year. You were Coach of the Year, second time in a row in the Red River there. You ended up falling in the Final 8. So what I want to ask you is, talk about just last season and if it met your expectations. And then is it a disappointment after a season like that if you fall early in the playoffs? Does that taste bad all the entire off season? Or are you still able to celebrate the 31-3?
We don't look at last season as a disappointment. We don't look at it as a failure. We look at it as, obviously we didn't do everything we wanted to do, but we got a lot done last season. We're not gonna shy away from that. For the second year in a row, we're conference regular season champions. For the second year in a row, we're conference tournament champions.
That's right.
For the second year in a row, we have the player of the year. We have the defensive player of the year. We got several guys on the all-conference team. For the second year in a row, we have All-American. For the first time, I believe, and if I'm wrong, I apologize, but for the first time in program history, we have the National Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And then, most importantly, we had 5 guys out the program graduate and get their degree. So no, we didn't do everything we wanted to do basketball wise, but we saw young men take the next step in their life.
Yeah.
We saw a young man like Cashinet. Not only does he get a chance to go play Division I basketball, but he graduates. You saw, all the young men that graduated out the program, that's going on and able to get jobs and things of that nature. So we didn't check the box of being national champion, but we checked a lot of the boxes that we're not going to downplay.
Right, and those guys graduate.
Mind you, it did.
Go ahead, Coach.
It did leave for the guys that returning, losing that game definitely left a bad taste in our mouth. Because but it helped us going into this new season. Where we remember the crying and the sad faces that was in that locker room. We lost that game to Oklahoma Wesleyan. I'm gonna tell you a funny story. I'm pulling back up on campus right now, and we got one of our point guards out here right now running a mile down south in South Louisiana at 12 o'clock. So that tell you what he did for our program.
Yeah.
And he's doing that on his own. And by the way, it's raining too.
Wow.
So that tell you what that loss did for.
Yeah, I told you before we started, as a fan, you guys didn't look like, you looked unstoppable for most of the season. And that game, you didn't look the same to me. It almost felt like they got in your head a little bit. I'm not saying that's true, but that's what it looked like. I know your guys come back hungry, but as a coach, what did you take away from that experience that'll make your team, yourself, and your program stronger?
I'll tell you, I'm not a coach to make it. I'll take the blame for that game. Me, my staff, and I, and myself, we got to do a better job of making sure the guys are. But we got caught in a situation that we hadn't been in all year. We hadn't played a back-to-back all year.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So, and that Bethel game, we going overtime.
That's
and
right.
We had I believe we had the last game that Friday night, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, trying to remember.
So that played a part in it, I would say. But I'll shoulder the blame for that game. I gotta do a better job of making sure the guys are prepared for that next day. So we've made some corrections to our schedule, to be ready for that moment. When God blesses us to get back to that opportunity. Where this season to start the year, we're in two classic where you gotta play Friday, then turn around and play Saturday.
Yeah.
And they both actually work kind of how the national tournament worked for us this past season. Well, we play an early game Friday, and then we're going to play a late game Saturday. So you don't have a lot of time to celebrate. You don't have a lot of time to, you got to hurry up and turn the page. So we're actually hoping we get back to that moment this season where they put us on a Friday and a Saturday, just to show that, we're ready for that. We're in a better space than we was last season. We get back to that opportunity.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Coach. If you look at your team, a lot of people will say, oh my goodness, he's losing Cashy Nat. LSUA is going to be in trouble this year. But boy, you've got a boatload of experience coming back. You got E.J. McClellan, Jordan DeCure, and some Pounceys coming back. You're pretty loaded up. How do you feel about the program going into, you've practiced now for a week? How do you feel about your team right now?
Man, we gotta, and this is what I'm about to say is no knock at Cashy Nat. And if he was on the phone, he'll tell you, that's our mentality. We got a next man up mentality.
Right.
There's no one player bigger than our program. And this time next year we'll be saying the same thing about some other guys that's on this year's team. So I truly feel that this group will be just as good as last year. It's going to look a little bit different, but I truly believe that. I truly believe that the program is at a place where it's never been. As far as since I've been here, we can say that we are where we need to be right now. So, and that's just a testament to the work. The guys understand the goals at hand. We write them on the board. Guys understand what we're trying to do, what we're after. and understanding that every night we'll get everybody's best punch. So we have to make sure we're sharp at every angle of the game.
Coach, I'd like your opinion. I thought that E.J. McQuillan was probably one of the most underrated players in the country last season. He was so key for you as a sophomore. He just shot the ball lights out. He's this year he's going to be a junior. He shot almost 40% last year. He hit 93s or something like that. Just talk about EJ and his game.
Man, and the thing is, the word for EJ is efficient.
Yes,
he's very, very efficient at what he does. And believe this or not, he's since the last time you've seen him play, he's gotten better since then. That kid had a tremendous summer, really locked in on his body, really locked in his grind, and he's gotten better. So it wouldn't be very smart to write us off. Obviously we lost Cash, but it wouldn't be very smart to write us off because you got his, another piece in Jordan DeQueer who's also had a tremendous summer, who's also was once, freshman of the year in his conference, who played a big role for us last season. In today's world, you normally don't bring back those two kind of guys.
That's right.
But we're fortunate and blessed enough to say, we'll be able to bring those two guys back.
Coach, as you get ready for the season, you play in that Red River Athletic Conference. It's just loaded up. You got Our Lady of the Lake. I'll actually see them in November. I don't want to start naming everybody. Houston Tillotson has a new coach now. You got North American. You got so many very tough, not only tough teams, but various styles. Talk about what it's like coaching in the Red River.
Well, Huston Tillotson, they have gone on to another conference.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, they're going to the HBCU conference.
That's true. Okay, that's right. I did see that. Okay, I stand corrected. Sorry, Coach.
But I like where the competition is in our conference. I don't like that sometimes our conference, some people downplay the level of competition in our conference because on any given night, we don't have no gimmicks in our conference as far as, and what I mean when I say gimmicks is tonight, you could play your worst and you still going to beat them by however much.
Yeah.
Well, in our conference on any given night, man, you could be on any given night, so you got to bring it, and that prepares you for once you get to tournament time, so you don't have to spend time discussing the Cinderella story because that's something that you've been having to bring it every single night in conference. So now it just becomes habit, and us as humans, we're creatures of habit for sure.
That's right.
But the good thing that I would say that, we've been blessed on as far as in our program is, we really push on having everyday guys, so we treat practice just like it's the game. We got a rule, something as simple as, you got to play the game with your jersey tucked in. That's the same way you're going to practice. It's those small things that have allowed us to have the success that we've had. So we just focus on us being the best version of ourselves every single day. Whether it's practice, whether it's game, whether it's skill development, whether it's weights, whether it's conditioning, whatever it is, we gotta, we treating that with a championship mindset because at the end of the day, that's what we chasing.
I know that discipline is a very big part of your program. You expect the guys to conduct themselves in a certain way. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I'm a firm believer that discipline and toughness give you a chance to win every night. Don't matter who you're playing. If you're disciplined the whole night and you're tough the whole night, you got a chance. And that's all you want is a chance.
That's right. Yeah.
If you're the teams that's winning at a high clip, I could show you why. And it comes back to those two words: being disciplined and being tough. The program that I use a lot, is Kelvin Sampson and Houston.
Yes.
Those guys are disciplined and they tough. That don't mean they're going to do everything perfect. Discipline and toughness don't always mean you got the most talented guy, because talent ain't what wins. And talent don't win you championship. It's a lot of teams that have talent, but they don't have discipline. They don't have toughness, so they struggle to win. But it's also some teams that don't have as much talent, but they're disciplined and they're tough. And then you see them winning games where you're like, wow, man, never once would I thought they won that game.
Yeah.
So you can't play for us, man, if you ain't disciplined. You can't play for us if you're not tough. That's simple. That's told to guys on the recruiting trail. They understand what that's gonna look like before they come in and sign here. And and then to be truthful, sometimes it could sound like we're trying to scare you, but we're not. We just want you to know what you're walking into before you come here.
Yeah, you want to make sure they're right for you, but you want to make sure you're right for them as well. Yeah. Coach, I want to ask you something a little bit off the wall. You went to, was it Burley High School? And I saw that when you got out of college, your first job was you went back and taught at Burley High School. What was that like going back to and you were a young man. What was that like going back to your high school and now you were teaching phys ed?
Man, it was, and shout out to my people at Bruley, man.
It's Bruley. Okay.
Funny,
sorry.
Yeah, it's funny you asked me that because I just had a conversation with one of our young men about you never know who have to hire you, right?
Yeah.
So, like, for instance, what people don't know is Tyler, who's our athletic director here.
Yes.
He worked in the ticket office at North Alabama.
Okay.
I played college basketball at North Alabama.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
So you gotta, what people don't understand is you're on an interview every day because the same person that you look at as lower than you, that same person could be somebody that gotta hire you.
That's right.
So how I'm tying this is I was, a pretty good basketball player at Bruley, but more of a really good young man that, that the admin and people around the community really respected because of my character.
Okay, yeah.
And my message is it's always important to have really good character. Because your character could take you places that your talent can't.
That's right.
But to answer your question, it was good, man.
Yeah.
I never knew how hard it was to find a job. Here I am thinking, I got 2 degrees. It ain't gonna be hard for me to find a job. And both of my degrees are in business management. And here I am teaching. But it was really good to kind of be back home and, be around family and be around people that kind of really just saw me grow up. It was good. Yeah. It was really good.
You talked about, how character matters. There's a saying in basketball, you hear it all the time, defense travels. Well, you almost could say the same thing about character in life, right? Because if you've got character, if people know that you're going to do what you say you're going to do, that always travels ahead of you. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, if you can teach young men that and they carry that into life, that alone is going to serve them very, very well.
And that's we pride ourselves on 3 words over here: discipline, toughness, with character.
There you go.
So the guys that come in this program, they're hearing those 3 words every day. So like it's being told and talked about and put on display every single day. And we give them examples of how those things have helped us in our own lives.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate you giving us a few minutes this morning. I know it's a busy time of year for you. Boy, you got to be excited, right? I mean, the basketballs are in the gym now. It's just a matter of time now, just a few weeks.
Oh, man, it's like Christmas, being able to get in there with the guys and you just get a chance to see the growth process.
Yep.
You get a chance to kind of see where, the areas that the young men have grown as far as, how far they've gotten, how much stronger they've gotten, how much better they've gotten as basketball players. And I tell you, man, this recruiting class that we have in is special. Okay. They're getting used to how we do things on a day-to-day basis, and they're special, man. It's some, I could go on and talk about, the Patrick McCraney coming from ULM, playing the 1 for us, Talib, who's coming from Auburn Montgomery D2, who could be huge for us.
Wow.
The 2 guys we got from Southwest out of our conference, Norman and Johnny, that brings some length and some size that we hadn't had at those 2 positions. Terrence Marco, who coming out of Northeast Mississippi, where I played at, the motor that he has, the length, the athleticism. Quentin Henry, who could shoot the ball just as good as EJ. Vaughn, who's coming out of the JUCO in Arkansas, who could fill it up. Courtney out of BRCC, who could fill it up. So we definitely feel like we got better with recruiting class and with the guys that we're returning.
Yeah.
And we got some returners that, that didn't play as much last year that has a chance to have bigger roles this year. So, we feel we have the tools that we need. Now it's on us to put them together.
Well, that's pretty exciting because, as we said at the start of this, you've got a really good base coming back. Sounds like you had a great recruiting class. I can't wait to see the Generals in action.
Yes, sir. It's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be fun, and we actually like that we hear the noise about us falling off.
Yeah.
Obviously, because cash won't be here. We like that. And I definitely couldn't go without acknowledging it.
That's right. You're gonna have to lay and play possum for a little while.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Coach, I really appreciate it. We'll get you back on when the season starts. The conversations are always a lot more fun when you got games to talk about, but we'll definitely get you back on. I appreciate you reaching out, short notice, and being on the show. I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you, man.
Okay, thanks a lot. That's Dimario Jackson. He's the head men's basketball coach, LSUA. They are the Generals. Thank you, Coach. Anyway, that was Dimario Jackson. Thank you to Dimario Jackson. Thank you to LSU Alexandria. Always a fun, never a boring conversation talking to Coach Jackson. He is super excited for this season. Really sounds like he has a great recruiting class coming in. And he's got some major returners coming back. It's going to be exciting basketball. Hey, join us again tomorrow. And if you know a coach that you want to get on, have them get a hold of me. Part of the reason that I don't get some coaches on, they're hard to get a hold of. Let's get every coach in the NAIA on Cascade Hoops Talk this season. Hey, this is Billy D. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you very much for supporting our podcast. Please like and subscribe. Get out to your local NAIA school because NAIA basketball is the best entertainment value in America.